Okay, so it's like 3 a.m. for me. I don't know. I was having another anxiety, like I was experiencing like intense restlessness and anxiety, which obviously prevents me from going to sleep. So I thought I'd just like spend the night just trying to express some of all the like great internal issues that I've been trying to repress to some extent for some time now. Um, I I said I was gonna get a video done by Sunday, but and I had like a script fully prepared. It's basically a sort of deconstruction of like why I fell in love with Rec Room, and that was gonna be part one. And I was gonna sort of suggest how my self-loathing issues, my depression, my inability to connect with people, led to me using like Rec Room as sort of an escape from all those problems in life, and allowed me to temporarily satisfy those things that were missing from my life. But yeah, it was basically about that. And part two is gonna be basically me realizing like how self destructive that was, and it was getting in the way of like my happiness and getting in the way from what I truly want, and like I strive to like leave it behind. But I realized when I was writing the script, like I'm very overly formal, verbose, to such that it comes across as very pretentious and like it's sincere, but it's like trying way too hard to sound smart. So yeah, it just kind of got in the way of like whatever. It got in the way of the storytelling. It got in the way of me trying to express myself sincerely, or at least making it feel sincere. It just seemed like a verbal. I even considered putting in the title, it being like an insane man engages in verbal masturbation for 20 minutes. Um, that's what I was gonna call it. Um, but yeah, so I thought like, oh no, why not just go without a script and see what happens. I'm usually not good without a script, but I don't know. Maybe I'm better than I think I am, but maybe I should have done it at a better time, like when I'm a little bit more mentally, like stronger, and not like when I'm sort of suffering from like minor sleep deprivation. So I guess I should start by saying, like, I guess get to the main point. Um, right now I'm sort of in a very dark place. Um, Not the darkest I've ever been. Like, trust me, I've hit like close to rock bottom a couple times in my life. But now I'm just like I should be the worst, like in the worst state I've ever been in. But for some reason, like I don't know, probably due to the quality of like the psychiatric medications I've been provided by my psychiatrist, who's been very helpful. I'm no longer seeing her, but she provided me some like a really good set of medications that have helped restore some of the chemical imbalances in my head. Um, yeah, so despite like the medications being very good, I was sexually pressed for a long time because like up until like a month ago I was like a virgin. I was 21 and I haven't had sex yet. I haven't even had a girlfriend yet or a boyfriend. Um, and I was bisexual, and so I of course had like sexual fantasies regarding both genders as just expected. But they were pressed for so long and like were sort of that caused them to just build internally, and it was kind of inevitable that if it didn't get unleashed, it was gonna like become expressed in desperate self-destructive ways, and that's what ended up happening. It didn't start that way. It started with me like trying to do online dating. I tried like physical dating before like going to speed dating events, but those never panned out. I'm not the most charismatic or charming person, and unfortunately, women don't care about looks that much. They care a lot more about charisma, charm, being captivating or being interesting. I like to think I'm not boring, but it's easy for people to think I am boring because I'm very dry, monotone, and well, not monotone. I don't think that's the right way to call it, but I'm very subdued, and I tend to. I'm not the most expressive either. I express my emotions in very subtle ways, and that kind of gives off a feeling of being lifeless. So that's not really attractive to many people. So I tried online dating, and online dating is hell. Especially if you're a dude, who's trying to like get with women. Um, because like women outnumber men, so there's like a bit more competition, and of course like people are only gonna judge based on like how attractive you are. No one's gonna gauge your personality at all by your bio. So of course they're gonna judge who's the most attractive, because there's so many men and so few women. Like only the most attractive men are going to get selected. That's not how it works in real life. Trust me, I'm not a proponent of the 80-20 theory, but that's sort of how it works on Tinder. And not don't blame women at all for having that. Like they're just selecting whatever the best options are, and because physical attractiveness is the only real criteria on that app. Yeah. So you just can't blame them. They're just taking advantage of whatever opportunities they get, and not in like a selfish way. It's just I guess a natural, expected kind of way. One you can't blame them for. So anyways, I tried that for like 6 months, but and I got a few dates. I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate enough to be attractive enough to like get matches. Granted, with people that I'm not super attracted to. Like they're not ugly by any means. Well, at least some of them aren't. But yeah. And despite me trying so hard on these dates to connect with them, like sometimes I can make them laugh. Like some of them, my jokes were admittedly pretty funny. I remember this one girl. I genuinely really liked this person. It's sad that she ghosted me immediately after this. We talked for like I this one actually wasn't even Tinder. It was actually I shouldn't go on a tangent. Basically, we hit it off, and I was trying my absolute hardest to connect with people and just trying to put my best self forward, but that wasn't enough. In those cases, and which made me feel sort of broken. I feel like I wasn't really valued much as a person, which like lowered my self esteem issues, which made me more prone to self destruction. So I, because I was like sexually repressed and like had a high sex drive, and I was feeling a little reckless. I started doing hookups. Like one time I went to a gay bar, and I'm just like I didn't approach anyone. I just like waited for them to approach me, and because I'm a decent looking guy, it does not take, and men are horny as hell, so it did not take them long for them to start approaching me, and yeah, so like I thought it was gonna be a one time thing where I just like get some practice in, so that when you actually start forming, just so you say you're not a virgin anymore, and you can use that like I guess I was gonna say insights, but that's insight is supposed to be a somewhat high bar. Um, but I guess say the knowledge I gained from like that experience, sexual or experience I gained from that experience would be helpful in future relationships. But that's so. But then for some reason, even though like during the moment I thought it was just fine, I admit like it was really stimulating at first, but then I just kind of got bored near the end. Um, so, but like for some reason, like even afterwards, at first I felt I was like, okay, that's a one and done experience. You got that out of the way. Now you're never gonna do it again until it's with the person you truly love and care about. But for some reason, I felt a drive to continue doing that. This was maybe done because like one, my self esteem was low, and by like engaging in these relationships, it felt like I was being valued for something, which made me feel slightly more than less than human. So I just, I guess I felt addicted to it. But I know that doesn't explain it all, and I don't, and even though I consider myself a somewhat introverted, no, sorry, introspective person, I can't fully explain that, like why I'm as was hooked on it as I was or still am. I haven't left. Yeah, so I mentioned before that I was like, you know, gauging in these relationships, but I just felt the drive to keep going, and that's what happened. I just like started like doing this practice. In fact, I even like, oh, this is shameful to admit, but I'm not even gonna give this app any attention. It's like it's just mentioned. It's an app that particularly gay men use, and some women as well. So you can get experience like that way. Um, Trans women most often, but I don't really discriminate personally. Um, but I don't think it's transphobic to like not be sexually attracted to like trans women, because they're not entirely women. I think they're technically women, but not entirely. At least not in the conventional sense. But so maybe that just turns some people off. But I guess back to the main point, I kept using that app, and I just kept satisfying that desire, satisfying that need to be validated and appreciated because I did not appreciate myself. And so, yeah, I just kept using it. And I don't know how to get myself out of this mess. Like, at first, it didn't bother me at all. At first, I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was kind of interesting. But I think after doing it so many times, sometimes with women, a lot of times with men, I starting to like get to me. I'm starting to feel like I'm being exploited in some way, because I'm not really enjoying it anymore. I just partially why I do it is just because like I'm doing like I get a frill before doing it because I'm doing something that's considered socially taboo, and that's like empowering. Not empowering. That's definitely not the right word to use, but it felt, I guess, emboldening, and so I kept doing that, and but ultimately it was self-destructive, and yeah, I eventually just felt like I was being exploited, but for some reason I'm still hooked on it. Like I know that I feel like it's making me feel like while I said it was like gonna it made me feel valued. It's not the way that I want to be valued. It was only it felt good temporarily, but now it's making me feel even more like inferior to other people because now I feel like my only value in life is being a piece of meat. Um, that other men could or some could do whatever they want with. Um, so right now, like I'm just like it's shocking how I'm not like experiencing suicidal ideation. I've experienced it before in the past, but boy, like I should be definitely experiencing that now because now I feel so much guilt and shame, and like my self esteem's at an all time low, and it doesn't help that I started film school in September, but I fucking hate it. I thought I would enjoy it. I thought it'd be better than university, but no, that's absolutely not the case. Like I like storytelling, I like script writing, I like the writing component and the storytelling component. That's the main reason why I watch movies in the first place. But I should have like expected, but everything else, the editing, the cinematography, the set design, there's like a class I have to take where it's just like learning about the production process, which don't get me wrong, is very helpful if you're an aspiring filmmaker. But like everyone in my class is like huge cinephiles. I was a cinephile at one point, but yeah, I kind of lost interest over time. For whatever reason, mostly because I became obsessed with music, and music is truly the only thing that's like keeping me alive. Discovering new music, making music, writing lyrics. Um, yeah, so I just like that's the one thing that's keeping me from like motivated. Like I think the reason I guess like sort of answers the question as to why I should be more suicidal than I am because like I don't know like a lot of people who are depressed or experiencing suicidal ideation will like come because they truly don't want to do it. They'll come up with reasons to stay in living. Usually very simple things like Asmongold, when he was talking about like his experience with like severe depression, he would mention like he would like have suicidal ideation, but then he would be like, oh, but like this next season of World of Warcraft's coming out next month, so I should at least stay alive long enough for that, and he would just keep finding new things to do that. So like music is that thing that I can just like get this project done, then you can go through with it. Get and if that doesn't work out, then or so basically I'm just like thinking of other projects to work on to keep myself occupied. Like in fact, I even had this recent idea because I remember like reading like this as sad as this admit, is like I was reading some children's books. I was like a huge fan of like Oscar Wilde. Like not only him as a writer, I love The Picture of Dorian Gray, and some of his poems like The Ballad of Reading Gaol, and yeah, I was also checked out his children's books like The Selfish Giant. I had to read that for an English class, strangely enough, in university, and which is like a very simple story, but it's also like there's tons of depth, and I even did a paper on it. I did fine, but I that was probably the worst of the three papers I did in that class. But The Happy Prince is like truly a very deep story. Um, I won't do like an analysis of it, but like I highly recommend it. I think anyone of at any age can really enjoy the story. It's like truly moving. Oscar Wilde is like a once in a like century talent in writing. So yeah, highly recommend that one. Um, and like I also read saw this analysis video of like the Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. And like I learned a lot about his personal life, but also about the story itself, and it's like a decent analysis. It wasn't like super in depth, but he went basically summarized, read the story in full, and I was like, wow, this is like a really tragic, kind of fucked up story, but it's like so deep and so profound, and it's like truly describes like the almost exploitative nature of like parent child relationships, and like how this parent will you know, I'm not gonna get into the analysis, this is besides the point, but I don't know, I guess the main point that I'm trying to get at is like I also felt like tempted to write a children's book. I remember when I wrote my first song after a while, like it's called The Scarecrow. It's basically a purple prose, I shouldn't say purple prose, it was like technically a poem but with music on top of it. And I thought it was like pretty, for a good song lyrically, it was pretty good, but the vocal melody sucked, so I'm not using that one again. Even though I had a really good idea for what the music should sound like. And yeah, so I just like that was very children books esque. And then I one song that I'm actually probably gonna use for this practice album that I'm gonna release before I release a concept album. It's called The Hunter and the Witch. It's a strange premise, but it's really fucked up. It's about like how vulnerable people can be exploited in relationships. Like they'll like lure them in with like feelings of like intimacy or love, but like it turns out, but they'll like get them involved in like self-destructive things like drugs and alcohol, and it's told metaphorically, obviously, and yeah, it leads to them like sort of and how they can be manipulated as well into sort of going through with it, because like there's no other way to live, and because they or that's what they deserve. It's probably an over analysis of what I wrote, but yes, and it was like the melody is based on "Song to the Siren" by Tim Buckley. Amazing song, by the way. Highly recommend. Can't recommend it enough. In fact. Anyways, so I just come up with little projects to sort of keep myself alive, and yeah. But right now, for some reason, I just don't have the drive. Like today, I went to a singing lesson, which I love singing, by the way. I love guitar, love bass, love singing, love keyboards. Um, I did that today, but I was like so lazy. Like holy fuck. I had so many things done, including schoolwork, but I just did not get it done. I'm have to like get shit done like tomorrow. But yeah, so like I'm not productive like at all, and I wonder why that's the case. Like if that's the thing that's keeping me like going, that's giving me the motivation to stay alive, you'd think like I'd be much more driven, and I was very driven at one point. But I don't know, maybe I'm just burnt out. Okay, anyways, sorry, that was my dad. I'm not gonna put that in the video. I'm just gonna edit it out. It should not take long at all. It's just a small cut. Um, but the problem is I kind of lost track where I was talking about. Like, I guess I was saying like you'd think that would motivate me to stay alive, but I don't know. Or if it was the thing that was motivating me to stay alive, I would be driven to do it. But um, no, not. Maybe it's just because I'm like so depressed right now that I just don't have the motivation to do even the things that I'm real deeply passionate about, like music and writing. Um, and so like I'm currently just like I guess to summarize that, my self esteem's at an all time low. I'm very self destructive right now. I feel like I'm being exploited, even though it's all my fault. I feel like I'm kind of going mad a little bit, like, and I'm more anxious. I'm more depressed, and yeah, I'm just like currently a wreck. Um, I guess that's all that needs to be said.